Hey, and welcome to your weekly corner Späti. We got a lot of people here today. We've got Rob,
Hey, everybody.
we've got Nick,
Yo.
it's got Kieran here on the ones and twos. I don't know what that means. But we also have a special guest, Jean, joining us again because we're talking about France and we don't understand France.
Bonjour.
Look at him go, that's French. Oh shit.
Oh shit. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good, man. It's going good. I remembered some French. What a waste of
Baguette.
time.
Baguette.
Baguettes.
That's it. I'm
Again.
fucking done. I'm out of here.
Oh, I actually do have a story about that. Of like, there was a French guy in my college course in Dublin, and we did graphic design. So we just like made a poster of his face and just said like "J'aime le baguette" on it, like I like the baguette. And then he just came in. And, yeah. We're just like, he's French. He likes baguettes. And then he just came in and burst out laughing. He was like, "Where I'm from, that's slang for penis." I was like, "All right, yeah, you appreciate
I
this
can
joke."
I can sing, but come on, it's any long like you could have guessed that slang for
Yeah.
penis. Even it could have been invented in that moment, and it still would have been. Oh yeah, that fits.
It's a penis, sure.
The extent of my French abilities is I can sing Frère et Jacques
Oh yeah.
from class.
You know that's a dark song actually. I don't know if it's like a QAnon conspiracy theory, but I think it's like a song about pedophilia.
A classic.
I believe it. Say no more.
Don't even fucking get Rob started on like just the intertwined deep dark secrets of pedophilia in Europe.
Yeah.
That's
Like
it.
no one believes me when I say that Madonna's Like a Prayer is about blowjobs. But I
Oh, I didn't know that.
it's not, but it could be.
Could be.
It
Down
isn't?
on my-
I mean, I believe you right there. I'm not even
Down on
fucking.
my knees.
Same.
Anyway. Yeah, so okay, just a quick topic before we go into France because I'd be remiss not to mention this, but there's been someone in like right-wing European politics that we have not talked about, mainly because I'm too afraid to ever touch Dutch politics because it just seems like Germany but more cursed.
You brought it up a
it's-
long time ago.
We did,
like
yeah.
one of our first episodes.
Yeah, but like there's people keep asking me to recommend stuff on the left to do in like various countries in Europe, and I just get to the Netherlands. It's like there's no hope. Just it's over, man. Let the sea take you. No, okay. So
That's the official corner Späti position on the Netherlands. Is just
yeah, absolutely.
climate change is inevitable, and the Netherlands won't exist. So why bother?
Why bother?
They expect one of us in the wreckage.
Oh god, I did read like a materialist history of like the Netherlands and Belgium recently that just made me look like a fucking clown because I was like, oh, how did the Netherlands start? And it was just like it's a buffer state between France and Germany. If you think it's anything other than that, you're an idiot.
I mean, fair point. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But yeah, okay. So Forum for Democracy, which is like this right-wing party that initially kind of started doing the like Jordan Peterson grift. Like the guy who was the head of the party, Thierry Baudet, was just like intellectualizing. He came up with things like oikophobia, which is like fear of the West, was his term, and that's why people were critical of.
Oikophobia sounds like a fear of like the family or fear of the household, like literally translated.
Yeah, that's what he was like. The household, your own country. Yeah, the fear
okay.
of.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just afraid. I'm just afraid of housework.
Yeah. I'm having to kit the dishes. But like this was his like over intellectualized explanation for why some Dutch people, namely Dutch people of color, were critical of all the blackface they do around Christmas time, which by the way, happy holidays, gang. But like so yeah, that's
blackface season in the Netherlands and in Belgium too. Always forget.
Yes,
it's
yeah.
the same country.
the Sinterklaas tradition in Svarte Piet. But like, yeah, so he made it famous big that way, and then like some regional election, like local elections last year, his party sweeped, and like if you win local elections in the Netherlands, you get to the Senate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that all kind of like fell apart like very rapidly this weekend.
Wah, wah.
Womp womp. Yeah. Where basically during the summer, a bunch of like youth members of this party did like Nazi memes, and they all got leaked in their chat groups. And then Thierry Baudet was like, "We'll do an investigation."
Nazi memes getting leaked from the youth wing of any far right party is like that guy who like bet his life savings on the 1 seeds like winning in the first round of March Madness.
Yeah.
You can set your clock to it. Like when it's not, when it doesn't happen, it should be like national news.
When it doesn't happen, it's like they have tight ranks. No one is snitching in that group.
It's like every fucking idiot who was like so stoked on the Lakers this season. Like it's like we knew they were gonna fucking win the NBA finals. Like it's exciting for no one else but like weirdos in LA. Like that's it.
So all these Nazi memes come out, and there's like hubbub, and then it was revealed that one of the party leaders also has ties with the neo-Nazis in the Netherlands. His name is Freak
Pikachu meme.
His name, I kid you not, is Freak Jansen. His first name is Freak, but with like 2 E's instead of EA.
Put my freak on a leash, will you, Kieran?
Trying to get off a leash.
Like Dutch politics, John, is just a lot of really dumb names. It's so good.
We have Jorg, freak on a leash. Jorg, no wait, that's that's
a cold song.
Swedish.
That's Swedish corn, yes.
Yeah. Or people named like Yoon, or
there's a lot of like the woman who fucked up the health response in Belgium is literally called Maggie de Block.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is. Yeah,
and she looks so sick as well.
She looks like a block.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's not Belgian J-Lo?
Maggie T Block, Maggie from the block. Yes.
That's how I can take this country seriously, because like this old region seriously, because you have the person who's supposed to be the minister of health, who looks like the people the most unhealthy on earth. And you're like, oh yeah, she's the head of the Ministry of Health.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Germany kept Peter Altmaier like away from that. Like,
so to continue with the story, just real as quickly as I possibly can, it came out last week, before the weekend, that yes, there was an investigation done, and a bunch of people in the youth party were suspended. But it turns out the people they suspended were the ones who leaked the images, not the ones who posted the Nazi memes.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
So, the Baudet said he would call another internal investigation. The members of his party that are in parliament are like, no, this is too little too late. You need to get rid of the neo-Nazis / Freak Jansen. Baudet was like,
well, like, I understand the like why the like whatever the more respectable centrists in this party, if you can even use that term, think this. But it's like, dude, why did you sign up for this Forum for Democracy? What did you think was going on here? It's sort of like, what do you mean? There can't be any Nazism in our far right party. It's like, who's the real sucker here?
Yeah, but like he genuinely had like particularly the media fooled. Like everyone on the left in the Netherlands could like see through this immediately. But like the media were convinced he was to the left of like Geert Wilders' party. Yeah, but like they're basically identical. Like the best description I ever heard is Geert Wilders, or no, Thierry Baudet is the Nazis who listen to Wagner, and Geert Wilders are the Nazis who listen to Schlager. Like that's the only distinction, is like this weird cultural like distinction between them. Anyway, this all results in like Thierry Baudet stepping down for a minute. Then like some people leave the party. Then he resumes his position as leader, calls for leadership elections. And the leadership are like, no, you can't do that. Kicks him out of the party. Calls the police on him, locks him out of the head offices, and I think that's where we are. It got revealed recently that he was like ranting on various conspiracies over the weekend, which might have like accelerated all this, including some choice quotes of like, this is from one of the senators of FED. I indicated that I thought we should not tolerate anti-Semitism or Nazism. Thierry Baudet then asked, where did your crusade against anti-Semitism come from? Most everyone I know is an anti-Semite. All my friends
are anti-Semites. Yeah, like
I could say it. I've got an anti-Semite as a friend.
That's so fucked up.
I love it's the exact opposite of like the German discourse about that. Like, yeah. The Netherlands is literally just taking Germany and just flipping it on its head.
Well, Germany is like everyone is an anti-Semite and they're my enemies, and the Netherlands are like everyone's an anti-Semite and they're my best friends.
and I was looking into because we were about the weird names in the far right in Europe, and I remember this convicted Nazi and convicted of racism, who might be MP in Denmark, called Rasmus Paludan.
Yes. Stram Koers, the guy who looks like what's the pig guy from Star Wars? Rob, we've talked about this.
Yeah,
the Gamorrean Guard.
Yeah,
he looks like the Gamorrean Guard from Star Wars. Yeah. The guy who likes
that guy,
burns the Quran in public as like a YouTube prank. He gets all his money from like YouTube chip. Like
I
YouTube
fucking hate when they did that in Return of the Jedi. That pissed me off.
That's where the franchise fell off for me, man.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, I'm looking at this picture. It really looks like that.
Yeah, he does. It was a solid read by Rob back in the day.
Yeah.
Wait, I just want to say quickly, I don't know if this is the end of Thierry Baudet. I guess he's going to be around doing something, or maybe he'll fall off the face of the earth. Who knows? But I feel like we need a quick salute to yet another 37-year-old loser who is a loser nerd. Wrote a PhD thesis, but is somehow I was the only one who hates college and sees through the lies. It's all right, dude. And then they're just on if they're dumb. They think, my unique, because I learned how to do pickup artistry. I will convince the Dutch nation to make me their Führer.
I'm going to neg the voters.
Yeah, exactly. And then if they have a little bit of sense, they're like, this is all a merry-go-round musical chairs where we're just all repressed misanthropes with undercuts, and we're just waiting to be the flashy right-wing group that's in power when there's a dramatic economic recession. And you were in the musical chair for what, maybe 14 months, and you missed your chance. Sorry, dude. There will be another one of you, I'm sure. So you missed your chance.
Unfortunately,
that's also the part in Return of the Jedi where Yoda dies and says there is another racist Dutch person ready to take the reins of this country.
That's what the Jedi are. It's actually pronounced Jedi, and it's the Dutch word for anti-Semite. The
joke, but that's actually how it's pronounced in German.
Sick. I love it. Unfortunately, Rob, he is kind of winning the struggle at the moment, because he kept going on Dutch media being everyone who's in Forum for Democracy who isn't me should leave. I am the party. It was insane shit. But now a lot of them have agreed to leave. All the people who were tipped to be his successor. So I think he won. But also, I just want to read out some choice quotes that came out from him over the weekend, unhinged shit. At one point, Thierry proclaimed that Corona had been brought into the world by George Soros and others to take away our freedom and start a new world domination. He shouted that Hillary Clinton and the pedophiles had not succeeded, but that it would now work via coronavirus.
I'm curious. He's in a far right wing party in Europe. Do we really want to look into the pedophilia in his own party? Do we really want to leave every stone just overturn every stone, just find out just the fucking disgusting we saw this in we saw this in Norway, that there's this massive problem with the far right. Germany has a much different one that then has a longer history of pedophilia here. The Dutch, I'm getting that vibe though from them. Sorry, I feel that he should watch his words carefully.
No nation is free from it. But we will have to do our own episode about Forum for Democracy and Thierry Baudet in more detail, because some biographies are coming out now, and yeah, he's a massive nerd. He's like he goes to all these like parties and just gets really angry that no one's talking to him about Plato. Seems really cool.
It's like he escaped from 4chan. That's his.
Yeah. Oh no. 100%. He is like, his whole thing was he was like the YouTuber party.
Oh, okay.
He would probably resent the term being far right. He would have called himself classical liberal, that kind of bullshit. Like that's awesome. A 2017 alt-right YouTube grift. Like he was 100% that.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving a little bit south and skipping over another nonsense nation that is Belgium. We're gonna talk about France, gang. I know we talk. I genuinely thought you were correcting me. I was like, but I did say we were talking. Oh, okay. But yeah, we talk a lot of big shit here, being boys in Berlin, about like Germany ruling Europe, and yeah, it does. It's no longer the 60s. The French don't matter, but they do to us. So let's talk about France.
They think that they matter, which means that they do matter when it comes to the European, struggle.
I really like to think there's someone probably in Les Républicains who's like, his whole politics is making French the international language again. Like,
dude, there's people who like, there's literally
somewhere.
there's literally people from that fucking party though who have just like left EU meetings because they're like, what? This is not in French. I'm leaving, and they just like throw a fit, then because
leaving in their wake, a room full of confused Slovenians.
Yeah, like because the meeting was being headed in English, and French, like, in the 70s was like one of the main languages of the. Yeah. I mean, still technically is, but there's just also still nerds, lame, but in a much different, turtleneck wearing sort of sense. Some people confuse with being sexy.
Yeah. There's this thing called la francophonie, which is like literally what you just described. This kind of like office, who's pushing for French to be like the international language from like the old colony. So making sure with small like cultural offices that people still speak French and like use the French language and stuff like that. So it's actually a thing.
Nice. I love it. Oh god. But yeah,
I would rather have German be the language of all that stuff because I speak it. So
seconded.
Let's
do this.
I don't like this, because then I have to envision like German-speaking West Africa, which just seems very weird and wrong to me.
Really dark.
It seems dark, yes. Yeah. We taught all these people racism through the language of German. All right.
A language that's so analytical about its race science.
I'm never learning German. I'm just I'm not doing it. All right. So, Rob, do you want to kick us off here, because you studied into like the thing that kicked this all off, the Macron's illiberal crusade against Islamophobia.
So there's a lot to say about France that we're not going to get to. People have asked us, like, when you're doing an episode on the yellow vest, when you're doing an episode on this or that. Obviously, coronavirus and all the battles over that is a big element. But I think to structure today's episode, we're going to focus on the rise of this. You can't call it a rise of Islamophobia in France and the latest debates over it. That brings us to the present day and some new laws that brings us to two things in the present day. One, Macron basically positioning from what I read as as an outside observer for the 2022 election against Le Pen, and kind of new powers, new police powers, new surveillance powers that the French state is taking in their fights against, political Islam and all these. I don't even remember all the phrases Macron uses. Is Islamist, is extremism, or separatism, he keeps saying.
Separatism,
yeah, the Parallelgesellschaft.
Right.
And so I think that's definitely something that, everyone should be looking out for as a dynamic going on in Europe So we will try to trace that recent history. Before we get into it, Jean, is there anything off the bat you want to say about it, or any context people should have?
Yeah, the context that people should have into like this new, like I would say, like return of the Jedi of Islamophobia in France. It's like this is a really, really long tradition that goes from like the fall of the Ottoman Empire, basically, when France invaded Algeria, and this, like, the context of it is like the economic crisis and the sloppy management of the Corona crisis, because every time like France have a economic crisis, they basically historically like put it into a minority or invade another country. So like they can do the latter, so they go for the first one.
The thing I was just about to say with that is that like a lot of this like stuff of Macron being extra Islamophobic piggybacks on kind of the episode that we were talking about briefly last week, with the sense of Macron wants to be seen as the guy against, like, in one part Turkish aggression, but it's just then also the sense of like, well, this gives me a chance to be racist, so I'm gonna fucking do, you know, two birds with one stone right now. And I think that that's also something that we like to put in context as well, is that this has always, of course, been a problem in France, as in for the rest of Europe, especially in the post 9/11 world. But the sense of taking, I think, the recent events and, you know, manipulating them into what he's doing now is also like pretty telling into the sense of how I think France wants to position themselves also in Europe. Because, like, yeah, you know, we were saying is that like France may not be the center of the European Union anymore, nor probably was it ever, but the French still fucking think that they are, and that they're kind of the ones leading the discourse. And kind of within and all this Islamophobia has also then come then the stuff too of Macron getting a lot of applause from, you know, liberals and people of the left for things like wanting to ban things like the gray wolves and stuff like that. So it is a lot of things kind of working simultaneously, of how in this politic, I've seen a lot of good people like applaud Macron for doing bad things in this, because they don't understand the full context of, you know, what all this is that then it's like, you know, packaged into.
So I think this is a good place to start, because Macron does see himself, maybe not unlike Thierry Baudet, in this grand struggle to win over, you know, this the debate, the discourse, whatever it might be.
He's a nerd.
And so he's, yeah, exactly.
Yes. Hang on. This is a perfect time to remind the listeners at home of that quote from Macron. I think I have it saved in my shit posting folder on my phone, but I think I can remember it off the top of my head, which is, most journalists don't understand my thoughts, I think is the quote. It's like his thoughts, my thoughts are too
fucking
complex
king.
for journalists to understand. Yeah.
It was like,
He does have such a, he has such like a
won,
little Trump complex sometimes, and I kind of love it.
My thoughts are too complex for journalists, says Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, right here.
Yeah. It was just right when he won the election, and then he got the surname Jupiter, like the Roman gods after that.
Jesus Christ.
So the reason I want to start there is because, as far as I understand, Macron early on was, I mean, he won in the runoff against Le Pen, and he was positioned as the anti-far right candidate, right? So he is the one, you know, pro-Europe. That was obviously a big talking point back in the last election. You know, kind of, yeah, the responsible one, I guess, if you can put it simply. And I know he made some, I don't know if you can call them denunciations, or he criticized this far-right magazine, Valeurs Actuelles. I know Valeurs means something else, but in my head I'm calling it Current Affairs. France. About, you know, he was kind of criticizing things that they would say. I think everyone can recognize this dynamic. But in October 2019, apparently after a long discussion and planning over this, he does a cover story interview with them, talks about immigration and the quote failures of the French model and blames Islam specifically for kind of destabilizing this beautiful French Republic. So this is starting us off in October 2019. Jean, can you add any context to that?
Yeah, that is the U-turn because, as you said, he was positioned as the final boss against the far right, against Marine Le Pen, and but lately, because I guess he wasn't doing good in the polls, and the Corona crisis they destroyed basically French economy, and he had to put a scapegoat, and Muslim people are perfect scapegoat for French politicians, as they were always seen as outsiders. There's a long colonial history to oppress them. So he did this U-turn where first he was kind of like the representative of post-racism, and it was you can talk down on people, but you have to do it a certain way. But now he made this U-turn by getting all these new advisors who are basically far-right people who are from Les Républicains. In French politics or in every party, you have all this movement within the party. So within the party, you can have people who are more turning into the left, and more people who turn into the right, even in a right-wing party, right? But he got all the councillors who are really, really far right in the Républicains, but we will never work with Marine Le Pen because she's not post-racism. So it got all this
It's just racism.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not racism unless it comes from the racism region of France.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's just racially motivated bias.
That the Republican is a little bit like that, and so it's this kind of post-racism, and so he decided to do this far-right leaning U-turn and went into Valeurs Actuelles with a paper owned by a Lebanese phalangist who's trying to import basically the Lebanese civil war against Muslim people in France. So really good people.
Sorry, no one knew where to take it from there.
No.
So just to emphasize that this is all before Corona, and I mean a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are intensified by, Well, actually, I have one question for context. So what is basically this whole time, even before coronavirus, France has been under a state of emergency, right? Yeah. It has this since the beginning of the Yellow Vest movement, right? Yeah, and so Macron is making these kind of overtures, but before we get to the kind of crackdowns and really repression of the past couple months, was the French government doing anything in particular, or is it just kind of pushing the discourse in this direction?
So the way the discourse was pushed, it's basically you have this thing called in French la fachosphère, which is the far right people on Twitter who always make certain subject trending, and they really the one who push the political discourse in French politics. So we will have a discourse about oh my God, they're talking about gender in school, and then it's going to be trending topic in France, and people are going to freak out about it. And so all these things push. But the difference, it's so sometimes those people are used as kind of think tank for the government in order to push new laws and stuff. So this is why you see now there's this new communication by the French Senate where they say university. Searcher university are not allowed to get funded to do gender study anymore and stuff like that. So they're trying to really crack down on everything that is not helping out real traditional value and capitalism and so on and so on. So that was the climate, but the people from la fachosphère or the far right and so on, they never had their ID implemented in such a way that it's like I saw a survey like it got out like earlier. People from La République En Marche feel like the police was right to crack down on refugees this week, while people from Rassemblement National, so 90% of, so 93% of people from La République En Marche feel that it was it was right to do it by the French police, but 90% from Rassemblement National by Marine Le Pen think that it wasn't okay. So now we have a situation where the political party who was supposed to be like kind of like liberal and anti-far right and what we said in France for the election, like la barrière contre le fascisme, so really this wall against fascism. You have those people who are more far-right leaning than the far-right party. And this U-turn happened in the context of, so you talk about the emergency. So the state of emergency is into French constitution since the Charlie Hebdo attack from 5 years ago, I believe.
Yeah.
So officially in France, we're always in state of emergency now. So that's why if you go to Paris, you will see military and shit. And so you have this in a context. Then you have the political crisis, a few other terrorist attacks who are instrumentalized into like saying like, okay, you see like they are representative of like all the Muslim people, and Muslim people should say publicly that they are not like subscribing to what terrorists are saying or pushing and doing. Yeah. And you have the yellow vest context where the French police did a lot of violence, a lot of people lost their limbs, and so on and so on. So this is the whole context who made it possible to have like the people who subscribe to the main political parties to be really, really far right leaning that are being like now you can say like really, really simply and it's not even outrageous to say that France is now led by a far right political party now, and because it's like you have the basis, so like you survey people and you ask them, okay, what do you think about the politics, and what do you think about like the police and like immigration and all that stuff, and they have really, really extreme views. So then the government is like, okay, we can capitalize on that, and so they push, and the thing like what is doing Macron is bumperizing the idea of Marine Le Pen, really taking them, implementing them, and then it's being like, okay, now you guys don't need to vote for Rassemblement National anymore, because not only I'm implementing their ideas, but I'm going further.
Yeah. So I mean, two things. The first is I think any like centrist or liberal or however they self-identify like defense against the far right, like you have to vote for us so that you're not, so that they don't take over. The ideal situation for them isn't to like overcome this threat. It's to have this like eternal vigilance. Like you need to keep voting for us and keep letting us do whatever we want, because there's always this threat at the door. And so that it almost doesn't matter what they do, because it's always, I mean, we know it well from the Democrats in the United States, because it's like, well, have you seen the other guy? And, they're very rude.
But
the other thing
that's right.
The other point really quick is it reminds me of a classic quote from right after Macron was elected in 2017 from Edouard Philippe, the prime minister, the former prime minister now. He was talking about economics, but I just think it fits exactly what you were saying, where the Financial Times was interviewing him, and they asked him that the government's plans for, a more flexible labor market, tax cuts, and, public spending curbs, those are all right-wing measures. And then Mr. Philippe bursts into laughter and says, yes, what did you expect? Like, like running as a centrist. And then, once the election's over, they're just like, Yeah, of course. What are you talking about? What else did you think we were going to do? And it fits for exactly what you're talking about too. It is more
kind of
security
perfect,
and
though.
police.
That was kind of perfect though, because Macron ran under a party that just did not exist before the last elections, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of form whatever you want around that.
He also ran on the platform, or like he ran as the guy who, correct me if I'm wrong, Jean, but he was like basically responsible for the thing that destroyed Hollande's party. Yeah. Like Hollande's party was destroyed by these like economic reforms he wanted to do, and he was his economic minister. He separated away and
So like he's been doing this politics since he was in France. It's called Le Parti Socialiste, which is
yes. Like, we know it's not actually socialist. Yes.
It's like the Democrats in the US, right? So, and now the right wing one is called literally the Républicains, the Republicans. So you have it all now, and what is beautiful, like really like props for that. He destroyed the Parti Socialiste from the interior, or accelerated the destroying of French social democracy. Then took the best people from there, like meaning like the most technical people from there, in order for him to climb. Did La République en Marche, which is like a weird platform where you have people from the Parti Socialiste and les Républicains as well. So you have a broad scope. So it's like where you call yourself centrist in order to then, do whatever he was supposed to do, like push like neoliberal reform. He's an old banker from Rothschild. Like, what do you expect?
No, that's absolutely right. And there's other like two things I wanted to say about like these points, because I remember all of this going down is that so like. One, like another problem when you go rely on the like liberal defense against fascism is that when part of the like liberalism, like the capitalist worldview starts to break down, they have no response to it, because like police brutality in France has been a problem now for a while, and
forever.
Yeah, they basically just don't have any answer. They like, because they're liberals, they've become the "we love our cops, our law enforcement" party, and they're like super into the police doing whatever because they're the police. Even if you ask them, like, if someone else did this, if the like fire brigade did this, would you oppose it? They'd probably say yes, of course. Yeah. But the police are doing it, and we love the police.
Have you saw the video where the fire brigade and the French police fight?
Yes, it's the best. I love it. Are you kidding me? We stand a king over here. We stand the French fire police unions. The other side of it as well that I was going to get at is the ever vigilant thing is 100% right, and it's 100% playing out now in France, because this was the kind of thing that only like me and Hugh from previously in Europe pay attention to. But we were like shocked and horrified when it happened. This very like subtle thing happened in, I want to say 2018, where Macron's government passed a law that changed like electoral fairness, like fairness in advertising around elections, right? It used to be that basically, if I understand correctly, every party got like equal airtime. If you were running, you would just get equal airtime. But they've now changed it to be like more data driven. So it's based on results of the last elections and stuff like that. Yeah. So he's basically forced the situation where if he has his way, every presidential election going forward is going to be his party versus the neo-Nazis, or whatever you want to call Le Pen's party. I keep wanting to call them National Front or Front National, but I know they've changed their name.
You want to and you always want to translate. Do you translate? How do you translate Podemos, for example?
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand the problem. This is the only political party in France that I translate. It's still La République en Marche. It's still Les Républicains. They're the only one. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry for that. I just
only unhinged psychopaths say France unbowed when talking about France insoumise. I once saw someone in a newspaper write "alternative for Germany." I was like, "Don't do that. That's weird."
So you see the problem.
Yeah, I do.
So I guess we should fast forward through the first wave of the coronavirus up to September this year, which was when something came on my radar, at least, which was, again, talking about the discourse now, which is, I'm going to try my best, ensauvagement controversy. Yeah. What I love about
salvagement.
John, I'll let you explain it, like what exactly it means, and we can go back and forth. But
okay.
I love, so the New York Times article I'm going off of was first published September 4th, and they note that this like came right after the vacation break in August. Like they're like, all right, back to work. What are we going to talk about? And I just imagine them all planning at their cabins in the Alps to be like, yeah, let's just say like we're turning savage. Like let's just say that French society, like this is a classic colonial.
We're going France but beast mode.
I'm a savage, reckless, whatever. Whatever. What are the lyrics again? I'm trying to make jokes and I don't even know.
Oh, the TikTok song.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. What was that?
I'm a savage. Reckless.
Rich and bougie. Yeah. We know music. We're so down with the kids.
It's just Emmanuel Macron doing the fucking WAP dance. But by WAP dance, I mean that Emmanuel Macron is an Italian American. No, he's an Italian American.
So yeah, I'll actually give one piece of context. So it seems to me that Macron is kind of studiously, at least back in September, was studiously just letting it happen. It was this one guy, Damanin, I'm sure I said it wrong, the interior minister.
Yeah.
And if you know nothing about, any country in Europe, usually the interior minister is like the worst person in government, right? If you're worried about like a centrist or right-leaning party, it's like, check out the interior minister. I know he has a bit of, controversy around him, and he's not a good guy. But he's basically saying proudly, personally, I use the word and I repeat it. It fits. And he's he seemed, at least in September, the one leading the charge. And again, I talk about this because in October, when these new security measures kick in, you can see that, of course, over the past several years, they've been laying this groundwork. But even the month before, they know like we're gearing up for like a big shift in how we're going to, relate to this.
Yeah. The thing is, like, you describe it clearly. It's like you have, in order to, like, if you want to gear up on the police, you have to slowly prepare the people to that. So you push all the controversy about so like ensauvagement. It's a funny word because it's a new word. So in French we say un néologisme. And so they invaded a word just for that shit.
Nice.
They just invented that word for the propaganda, which means turning into a savage. And I let you imagine which population they're targeting when they're saying that, which was like pushed by the government and the right wing from Twitter, so the La Fascosphère, who are now like directly like are being like a think tank for the French government. So they push all these things, and if you look at the data, it's even wrong. It's like there is not even more crime. There were not even more crime going on because they were like look at the data for the violent crime going on during like the end of the lockdown, blah blah, the first fake lockdown, and it's not even real if you compare it to the data of crime and violent crime toward like the year or even like the year prior. So pure bullshit. And anyway, like if far right people were interested by facts, we will know we are like in a post-fact era, right? And so like they push this thing. So like the thing about security in France is like it gets people really railed up. Like not because it's particularly an unsafe country, but it's just like you put like videos. It's like really a war of like image, and I guess this is why Debord wrote La Société du Spectacle. So you like put it like 24/7, like people, because we have like 10 news channel who only put like news 24/7. So you put like people getting beat up 24/7, and people are like, oh my god, it's getting dangerous, and you give only hair to like far right people like Eric Zemmour and all that shit.
Yeah.
Eric Zemmour, official doppelganger of Timothy Chalamet, and I think I told you before on this blog. And so they were even data out. They were like, okay, how many left-leaning people the French, one of the 10 French news channel invited, like what are the stats? And they were like 0.8%. So you have a situation like that, like pure, like at this level, it's not even pure propaganda. It's like you have to invent a new word for that, and then oh my god, you have like the second Baghdad, and then you have like what happened with Samuel Paty, and then the instrumental this like it could have been like a false flag attack that it would have been even it could have even been even better, because here you have everything that French been going crazy about for like centuries, the educational system, the people from immigration. You even have like a Chechen in the cut.
Yeah, really. Yeah, they really mixed it up.
Yeah.
This is like the French trying to do like a false flag operation, like at the beginning of a heist film. It's like, we need the best Chechen in the game. And it's like, damn it, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
And then you have Charlie Hebdo. You have that fucking drowning. I can't see that drowning anymore. The worst drowning ever. And you have that drowning again, which is like a symbol of like, who is kind of like pushed as a symbol of like free expression or whatever. And it's like, oh my god.
Journalist integrity, blah, blah, blah.
I've seen episode 100 times. Like, what are you on about, guys?
Well, that is a question I have, because so just for context, so that's the Charlie Hebdo attack you're referring to is at the end of September. At the end of October, there was an attack in Nice. I think 2 people were killed, like a knife attack. And then the big event that was like kind of made international news and caused protests was a teacher was killed after teaching the Charlie Hebdo cartoon controversy in class. And my question is like, hasn't like everyone seen the cartoon by now? Like it's everywhere kind of thing. Like just because it's obviously a big thing. So
yeah, of course. I think like the person who did the attack, of course, wasn't really smart. So what I understood, what is really interesting about the story is like, if I recall right, there's this Chechen guy going in front of a high school. He sees this kid, he's like, hey, you want to make a quick buck? And the kid is like, of course. Because you have also to take into context like the economic.
Chechen was also played by Jason Statham. Let's not get it twisted.
Because you have to take into context like the social economic context of France, which is one of the most classist society. Only England can compare. So
what a pissing contest! Who's the most racist European country?
We are developing a data-driven solution. Question.
That's our grit. That's our new grit, Rob. My coding skills and your talking skills. But like, it was like, literally, you want to make a quick buck? It was like, oh yeah, sure. So I think he offered like 100 euro or 200 euro or something ridiculous. Something ridiculous like that. He gave it to the kid and was like, hey, show me the teacher who showed you the painting, the drawing of the caricature of Mahomet. And he show him to the guy, and then unfortunately he killed the teacher. But why the fuck the kids are now involved? Because now like French teachers are literally telling on their students when they're not like crying during the homage of Samuel Paty or not saying the right thing, and the police is like going into people's house early in the morning and be like, hey, your kid didn't say the right thing at school. He's now being interrogated for terrorism, and the kid is 10 years old. How he can be a terrorist? What the fuck are you on about?
So this guy, I guess I was surprised at the how you kept hearing about it. Like, I mean, how big the news was, and I mean, I guess it's sensational in a way. He was like beheaded, right?
Yeah.
And so that obviously, yeah,
it reminds us
flashy, right? A flashy style murder. And another part of it, at least according to the government and a lot of people, is that there was a big social media campaign, right, to kind of dox the teacher, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's just some kid from another school.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could just imagine, for whatever reason, just imagine you told a kid you want to kill a teacher. Imagine how many fucked up high school kids would be like, sure, if you're paying me, and I can get away with it, and there's an excuse for it.
Yeah, it's I remember I do remember how quickly that story got everywhere. This is not the first time in a European country that doesn't speak English where a terrorist attack happens, and then the right wing, usually you give them 3 days, and the international English speaking right wing is on it, talking about it, what about fucking white farmers in South Africa or some bullshit. But they latched onto this so fucking quickly.
Yeah.
It's got to them immediately.
Yeah, because
after it happened.
There's all the ingredients for good far right instrumentation. That's why I said it could have been a false flag attack, that it could have been better, because there's all the topping that you need for a good frozen yogurt for far right.
I was asking myself.
I hate that frozen yogurt.
I don't want to get in trouble. It's bad when some nice teacher, it seems like, gets killed for something you showed in class. But of course, I was asking myself, they were planning this for months. Anyway, bracket that. Don't try not to get us in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same response you should always have to anything remotely terrorist, even 9/11, or it's just that was shitty that happened, but all the implementations, all the things you're going to do afterwards to supposedly stop it from never happening again, quote unquote, is just going to be so much fucking worse. I don't want to think what the French school equivalent of taking off my shoes every time I go to the airport is going to be. Yeah. That's just good. They're going to padlock teachers to a gun or something that goes off if someone speaks Arabic. It's going to be insane.
I always forget that France is one of the most, because I was just about to make a joke of well, fuck it, Rob, who's gonna fucking come after us, the fucking French Foreign Legion. I'm oh.
Yes, those psychos will.
They're fucking horrifying.
Dead-eyed psychos.
Yeah, fucking terrifying. I'm just imagining just a bunch of fucking idiots in pinstripe shirts and berets. No, it's all fucking whatever special ops the fucking French have.
Yeah.
Who probably murdered more POCs than you can fucking count, in a number in general.
It's going to be somewhat some jacked French guy standing on your neck until your life just fades from your eyes, Nick, and then it will just be him smoking a cigarette, being I need to cheat on my wife to get over this again.
That's so special.
Yeah, it's that what's that picture of just the person just it's from I think a really shitty Turkish movie or whatever, where the guy's just choking someone out just with no expression on his face whatsoever.
Midnight Express?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. And it's just it's just that, but it's the entire that's just his life. But he has some goofy name, what was the guy who was the private security contractor guy who we did a Megarica about?
Oh yeah, the fucking yeah. Sorry, this is some French shit we did cover, but the richest guy in France, hiring L'Esquale, the shark, to infiltrate the French newspapers, and Jesus Christ, that whole fucking shit. Yeah,
that guy's gonna come after us now.
The guy who owns LVMH. The guy who owns LVMH.
Oh, yeah.
Does that like was his last name like Squarolini or something like that?
Yeah, he's a French guy from like the Italian border, so his last name's like Squarciolini or something. I can't remember. Yeah.
So we've mentioned the reaction, but we should just get into it because Macron was at. I remember there was this huge funeral, or I mean, some remembrance for the teacher in Paris. Macron was there. He spoke. He said the incident was, quote, a typical Islamist terror attack, and our compatriot was killed for teaching children freedom of speech. I know he said that this is unique compared to recent terrorist attacks in France because while those gave evidence of, international terrorist networks, this was like purely homegrown terrorism, according to an article in the BBC. And so after that, it's basically been, well, there have been several waves of this because the most recent one was, and we're going to talk about the new police laws in a second because I don't think it's a coincidence this is all happening at the same time, but Macron has called for basically new Republican values, basically saying that there's going to be like a national council of imams and they all have to register. And immediately after the attack,
We're getting French Sharia law, baby. Lay Sharia law.
Yeah, it's going to be officially sanctioned Sharia law. And and they closed down several mosques too, that they like thought had some connection somehow. And I think deported over 200 people.
An anti-racist organization also. They cracked down on the NGO work against discrimination against Muslim people and Islamophobia. It's called the CRIF. And they, after like a few weeks on Twitter being like, we're going to shut you down, you guys are collaborators, they shut it down. And in that set of law as well, there's something who made a lot of waves on social networks. It's like the identification of Muslim children in order with numbers in order to the official communication is like in order to make sure that they go to school and they don't go to an Islamic school, a madrasa instead, which is the first time that a European country tried to number their minority. It didn't end up really well.
Woo!
Mic drop.
Classic. I'm wooing in the same way as like when I'm at a concert and the rock star says the town I'm from. Yeah, Germany, woo!
Some other things listed here in the bill are restrictions on homeschooling, harsher punishments for those who intimidate public officials on religious grounds, a ban on sharing the personal information of a person in a way that allows them to be located by people who want to harm them. I mean, all these things sound to me just like more excuses to like just kind of strengthening the law that allows you to pursue somebody for, intimidation and sharing information is like, I don't know, by definition, those are vaguer legal concepts, right?
Yeah.
And but it's just kind of saying
it's already settled in France. It's so funny because we're making law for everything. When we have a book like who's like, oh my god, like being a law student in France must be hell because like they just like publish new books. Like for example, this set of rules will be only for Muslim people. So you have like the penal code with like for example, intimidating people. It's already sanctioned by the penal code, right? But on this Republican pact for Muslim people, then they're like, okay, again, if you try to share personal information, especially now with the GDPR law, you already like on the European level, you already sanctioned it so 2 times, and then you have the penal code only for Muslim people, only for the Muslim community, which we call this thing, and another bunch of authoritarian things. So it's like it's really like an overkill, if I can use the expression.
I like how France is just doing the whole like separate but equal thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So another quote was that Macron is insisting that these like basically imams or religious leaders have to basically sign or assert that Islam is an apolitical religion.
Yeah.
Which to me seems, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I mean, we here think everything's political, first of all.
Yeah. First of all, everything is political. And I don't think the Catholic Church, who have like still so much influence in France, especially since last.
The Catholic Church, nothing but
apolitical.
Just being apolitical for 2,000 years.
Exactly, especially during World War II.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, at the same time, the Pope is like this political like force who's like ruining the true Word of God.
Yeah.
According to like half of the people who like make the same argument.
In a like little military state with Swiss mercenary, but all apolitical.
Yeah, like my most favorite apolitical Catholic move was the year December 25th, the year 800, where Charlemagne was crowned by the Pope, the first Holy Roman Empire. Totally apolitical move. Love it. Classic apolitical Catholicism. Go for it, baby.
Famously crowned the apolitical Roman Empire.
Yeah, apolitical. The apolitical Holy Roman Empire. Whoa. Keep politics out of my Roman Empire. That was the problem with the last one.
My favorite like a political move from the Catholic Church is when they extradited Nazi official via Switzerland by giving them passport for South America. That's my favorite.
So that they wouldn't do politics anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't.
Who does and doesn't have passports? Totally an apolitical thing.
Yeah, it's do you guys not remember the 10th commandment? It is, thou shalt not do politics.
Yeah, keep politics out of my damn video games, cross out video games. Church. The church.
Yeah, I always fucking love going to mass and you fucking hear, you're just dead-eyed pastor going on about abortion or whatever the fuck Catholics care about. But then also, and I'm like being completely serious though, will then also then go and like tell you how the Catholic Church is politics and this Catholics have to vote as Catholics and it's like not a political institution. Like they do actually believe their own bullshit. Like I do actually want to step my foot down. Like it is a thing. Maybe not always. I'm
so looking forward to going to a Catholic sermon in 10, 15 years, and it's just going to be some new upstart priest talking about how boobs in video games are smaller now. It's just going to be as Catholics, we need to stop this. All right, so I think from this point on, I'll be taking over to talk about some new developments in all of this.
But the next piece of the puzzle.
The next piece of the puzzle.
The next ingredient in the gumbo.
Definitely not connected. Not at all. No, the new security law. I believe in French it's being called the global security law.
La loi de sécurité globale.
Yep, backwards. The adjectives go last. I remember this. So the new global security law, and namely Article 24 of it, but there's some other bad stuff in there as well. So Article 24 seems to be the one that's causing all the hubbub in particular. The Article 24 punishes people with a year in prison and a 45,000 euro fine, which to publish by any means and in any medium the face or any other identifying feature of a police officer or gendarme.
You cannot post their Nazi tattoos.
You cannot post the it's two lightning bolts. They're not two S's. Stop asking. With specifically
an apolitical tattoo.
This is an apolitical tattoo. It's a Hindu symbol. With the aim of them causing physical or psychological harm. So we're not allowed to bully the cops. We're not allowed to get into cops' mentions anymore, apparently.
Yeah, the global triggering law.
You know who still fucking can you know who's not afraid to fucking bend the rules for the betterment of us?
What?
Is the fire department.
The fire department.
Exactly.
The only exemption is the fire department. You could ring the emergency services in France and request the fire brigade come to your house to help you bully a cop on Twitter.
Yeah, the fucking fire department, the fucking Parisian fire department just becomes like some like 1970s New York fucking mob thing. You have to like go to like you have to meet with them in like a vacant building for like a 2-day period, like once a month, in order to like pay your dues to them.
This is some guy going into like an apartment building in like the middle of Paris with no elevator built in, just gets up to like the 4th floor after all these stairs, gets onto some like French loser's computer and just be like, that's better than taking kittens down from the tree. All right, do you have the picture of the pig shitting on its own balls? I can send that to the cop. So yeah, but this is just like one aspect of the global security law, and there's been a fair amount of organization around it, namely by like journalist unions, if I understand correctly. So like anything else you want to talk about before I get into Jean? Before I get into like the other details of this security law?
Yeah, so there were a bunch of NGO against it, and organizations. So they were lawyers, journalists. And people who like fight against the police prejudice against minority as well.
Yeah, because like if I remember correctly, like a lot of the stuff got particularly out of hand with police brutality, or at least the international sphere was paying attention to it more during the Gilets Jaunes and the general strike. I'm not sure what that period after the Gilets Jaunes was called, but there was one where the unions got a bit more involved.
Yeah. So that was the moment, because the thing is like usually because like the French police is literally was founded in like colonial framework. So like all the most of the units, like they did like the technique that they use is technique that they used to use like in Algeria or the colony that they had around the world. So usually they used to do their police violence in the suburb where minority are. But with Les Gilets Jaunes, you have a new demography, which is like people who are from the countryside, who are from small cities, going to Paris to like demonstrate for the Gilets Jaunes, and then they experiment police violence for the first time. And since it's also white people experimenting it, then the international press were all on
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they became a bit more familiar. Yeah, I remember like I think we joked about it before on the podcast, but like people from Extinction Rebellion, like UK, going to like France to protest and finally experiencing like the French gendarme cracking down their fucking skulls, being like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's easy to laugh at them, but honestly, it's like, I hope they learned something, like it's real out here, bro.
Yeah,
like,
I hope they learned that maybe being a part of a political movement that aims to get arrested is maybe not a great idea that translates to every like different part of the world. So going into a little bit of what else is in this bill that's kind of like deeply upsetting, is there's going to be like that allows the police to implement drones from above to survey crowds, also with facial recognition, to get more uninterrupted access to private security cameras, so like store security cameras, business security cameras, that kind of thing. What else was there? There was the crackdown of the sale of fireworks. I remember particularly that was like a big thing. During the lockdown, there was like a neighborhood in Paris that like threw fireworks at the cops. I remember getting particularly incensed because like the news station that uploaded the footage is like this, auto playing Facebook kind of video, just couldn't help but put fucking trap music underneath it, being like, okay, we know what you're doing here.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Yeah. Jesus. So the aerial surveillance drones, scaling back on fireworks, trying to see if there was anything else. Yeah, I think the law also seems to be like tailored to suit police unions because the guy who's like proposed it, I'm going to butcher this. I'm just going to say it. Jean-Michel Favergue.
Right. That's fucking right.
Nailed it. 6 years of French. Let's go. Yeah, so like he was the head of RAID, which is
Le RAID.
Yeah. So he's made the cop law by cops for cops. So that's
B2B B2C.
The supply chain is just one loop going around. Yeah, so like naturally people are pissed.
Was it marketed with the Punisher logo on it?
It's just a guy in French Parliament being like, I read this cool American comic called The Punisher.
Totally not about murdering cops, but yeah.
Yeah. Jean-Michel Favergue.
Can we just like wait? I ended up completely unrelated. I had just one of those moments again this week that I just like came full circle, and I just forgot that the police love the Punisher logo and have forgotten that the entire whole point of Frank Castle was that he fucking hates the United States.
Yeah. He hates
and
the
I
cops
just love
too.
Yeah, he fucking hates the cops, he hates the military, he fucking hates everything. And yet these absolute dipshits just don't like, come on, they're too stupid to read a fucking comic book. Like, that's low. Like, you can't look at pictures.
So these pictures have words.
What it gets at, though, I think, is this like dynamic between, because at the same time you see something similar with like the right wing and like military in the US, which is sort of like why like they're almost against even that level of like organization, because you just want to be like a badass, like you want to be an operator, not like a foot soldier, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you want to have like the full independence. And police, certainly you can feel like that in a lot of places. If you're a police officer fucking on patrol, you do what you want, beat up, kill someone, and hey, you have immunity. But at the same time, even the police in that level of organization, some people can feel like, I just want to go go savage mode, like by myself and do what I want. And if Europe does have
booty,
if, as we've been like kind of talking about a lot on the show, if Europe does have some institutions to kind of reincorporate some of this like far right violent energy into the state, more so than, I don't know, in the US or other countries where it might spin off into something else, it would take the form of stronger police unions and like saying, you can be the Punisher, and it means being a police officer.
Yeah.
It means going to savage mode and savage mode 2.
Yes. So we're putting out that a lot of like political forces and people within France are not happy with this global security law.
There's a demo tomorrow.
Yes.
One of the biggest demo, I think.
Right. There, like
we're gonna miss it, but maybe we can put a link in the description or something. I mean, it comes out after.
This episode comes out Monday. So there was a demo on Saturday. Go back in time, French people who listen to this. There'll probably be another one, I'm guessing, because the law has been passed, if I understand correctly. Yes.
It's French, so nothing is easy. So you have to go to the Senate again, and then it can be like what is it? Repealed or something.
Okay. So the people supporting this bill in politics seem to be Les Républicains and, of course, Les Républiques En Marche, who like basically made the bill, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
They did offer a fig leaf. They did offer an olive branch to us peace-loving lefties in the form of you can publicly identify a police officer by their badge number. That's it. So still filming them and being mean to them on Twitter is still not legal, but we can get their badge number. The thing that was basically designed to do.
Bringing a well-sharpened pencil to a gunfight.
I mean, like, I really love the idea that, like, in the original draft of this bill, you couldn't identify cops by their ID numbers. Like, then what's the fucking point of having the ID number? Just put fucking wingdings on it. It doesn't matter anymore.
You know that if you type out a cop's number a certain way, you get Bush did 9/11 in
I've seen that.
In the calculator.
If you say a cop's ID number 3 times in the mirror with the lights off, then they will come and beat you up.
And speaking of like the immunity thing, because this is just an insane story about the Macron presidency that has to be repeated until everyone listening to this podcast can talk to their Macron-loving neighbors or friends or family or whatever, and remind them of the fact.
Doesn't matter what country you're in.
No, because he got a lot of press attention. He's still kind of a darling in some people's eyes. His bodyguard used to cosplay as a cop at riots just so he could beat the shit out of people.
Yeah, Alexandre Benalla, yeah. No.
Yeah, that was like, the news has been so wild that we kind of forgot there was this footage of like people being beaten up the Gilets Jaunes, and then just a group of French people just yelling. It was like, wait, that's not police uniform. He's just wearing black and a motorcycle helmet.
Yeah, wait. Does he? Wait. Does he just fucking like go into the crowd, like put his motorcycle helmet on, and then it just like you see from his perspective, just like infrared and just
it was like a cop Halloween costume.
Yeah, he's wearing like a male stripper cop costume.
The pants just tear off immediately as he runs away. Yeah, so that's the kind of insane shit we're dealing with in France, and Macron's government not good.
Well, is there any way we can
never
tie this all
was
together?
good? Let's not. Yeah.
Like Jean, is there any like what's the like if there's like a political force that's like because maybe these forces? I mean, I think obviously they're coming from the same, Macron state, but like, can they be fought in unison? Are they separate issues? Like, if not structurally, then maybe tactically. Like, what's the resistance? I guess.
Yeah, the only thing is like people like, for example, tomorrow for Saturday, the people is gonna be a demo. So if there is really a large number and like a pressure of the public opinion, then it's gonna be repealed, But it's like those, because they were like this Netflix show about the protest against the war in Vietnam, and it's like the same thing, right? It's like, even though if there's a lot of people protesting, it doesn't mean that the government is gonna repeal the law. So it's really wait and see, and there's no political opposition in France anymore, thanks to Macron and thanks to a lot of people who thought and put like everything in the same bag and like totally destroy like French political landscape. But like, for example, if we say, like, for example, for the next election, we are, I think, in 2 years or a year and a half, I don't see any.
Year and a half now.
Yeah, I don't see any other party making like even like more than 20%.
Yeah. Because this is something that I believe we've kind of alluded to or haven't really outright said. We have. But like all of this like tough on Islam, tough on security stuff is to like prepare Macron for 2022 when the actual election happens.
Thesis statement.
Yes. But like we are going into it like the complaint from, I believe it was the 2017 election, was that a lot of French people were complaining that the like French presidential election is becoming more American because Les Républicains had like these open primaries and like primary debates and things that like all seemed very American, all very spectacle, all very televised, and that got
great
started.
Way to go. Nothing wrong with getting more American. That always leads to good things.
Yeah, right.
Definitely
but
more agency and control over the political process and feeling not insane.
Yes,
ask who would.
I
was just about to ask who would be like French Joe Biden, but it's Macron. Like my imagination.
Macron's dad comes out of the woodwork. It's just Macron, but he doesn't know where he is.
What would be like the French equivalent of him just like sucking his wife's fingers?
Doing that, but like more often and winning him support
on a Vespa.
On a Vespa. So like the thing that I was getting at though is that like the Liz Republican primaries, if I remember correctly, happened the year before. Like they happened in 2016. So like the French election season is now going to be starting like winter 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gearing up for it, and it's also not impossible, or it's not like it was very hard for me to read all this news and watch all the videos on Twitter and stuff like that and not feel like this is Macron preparing for people being more willing to take to the streets again. Because like the Gilets Jaunes in particular, like
stop pronouncing the end of the word. We don't do that in French.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't, Kieran, don't listen. Don't listen to the French.
Gilets Jaunes. I genuinely spell it like JILLYJOONS. The Gilets Jaunes. So they'd been like everyone in the international space paid attention to them when they first appeared.
Yeah.
But they basically didn't go away. They were like a sustained movement for like more than a year now at this point. Yeah. And only the coronavirus stopped them. Like that was like stopped, quote unquote, but like they weren't demonstrating as much. And it's very hard not to read the security law as Macron is getting ready for the lockdown to end. Because they're going to take to the street again. Go on.
Macron is doing basically what Spain or Greece did. It's like Spain cracked down on all this like anger from the street by doing all those laws where basically if you protest you go to jail for I don't know how many years and you get a huge fine. So like in order for you to not protest, there's all this set of legal laws happening. I don't know if like those laws got implemented or no, but it's exactly what austerity Spain did after there were all these demos going, and the same thing.
Ignados and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So like the thing is like les gilets jaunes are a movement of like people who are really organized online, even though like you could safely say that their demography is like boomer, but they are well organized via Facebook group, Telegram group even, and so on. So they keep talking, and they still had physical spaces that they took over, all these roundabouts that they took over, and they still like the structures that they build on it to stop cars and stuff. So they're just waiting at the first, because there were no dialogue, because Macron is basically the president of the really, really, really rich people in France, and he only talked to them. And for example, they gave 81 million euro to the operas of Paris, and like refused to give 21 million to the fund for the saving of the electronic music scene in France. So rather to put some funding in like a music that is like quite mainstreamly listening in France, they just choose to put all that in one old building in Paris. So it tells you everything about the 81 million. I don't know if you understand, for one building.
It's like, I'm just thinking to myself that it's like, surely the building isn't even worth that much. Are they building like another building on top of it?
So it's like it shows you everything about the politics of Macron. So like people are ready to take it on the street again, les Gilets jaunes and other organizations. So if he doesn't like, since he's not in a mood of listening people, then you have to gear up in the legal side. So why there's la loi de sécurité globale getting implemented. But it's like it's ridiculous to see it implemented because it's like basically what the falling regime in Southern Europe do, you know.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, the French are finally deciding whether they're like Northern European or Southern European. You were always like halfway between the two, and you've decided you're now Southern European. To crack down on protest movements. But don't worry, your food will get better, and like you'll just everything will become sexier. But like really anti-protest.
France declaring itself Southern European is a classic move. That's where Latin America comes from. That's where France was trying to be like, this is our sphere of influence now, because we're Latin, like you, Latin language. That's a true story. I'm not making that up.
Yeah, no, but it just feel like that bit from 30 Rock where the guy's coming out like, "Hello, fellow kids," kind of thing. The French, yeah. So there's one last little thing I want to say about the protests, because I'm not sure if everyone like caught the footage of the removal of the refugee camp in the center of Paris. This basically happens, I believe. Oh, this was like Tuesday this week, I want to say. Tuesday just gone past. Yeah. So this made its way onto Twitter. Happened in the middle of the night where like the police came along, evicted the refugees from where they were sleeping. Not like evicted makes it sound like they were in buildings and improper housing. No, they were in tents in the middle of the street. And they're like kicked out. The tents are confiscated. Journalists are chased down the street for filming the cops, because this is after the global security law has somewhat passed. People are tear gassed. The homeless people are trying to like march to other parts of Paris so they find somewhere to sleep. They're stopped and redirected. Whole thing is a complete mess. I want to say special thanks to I'm going to pronounce your names wrong, Remy Bouzine. And
would be probably Remy Bouzin.
Remy Bouzin?
Remy Pussy? What?
Yeah. I'd like to thank the rat from Ratatouille.
Kira's just making up fucking like soprano characters that never made the cut.
No, you're right. It's Remy Bouzin. Yeah, it's really
Remy Bouzin.
It's even hard.
And I'm going to let you say that other name, the Mark Oliver one.
Let me check. Where the fuck is it? I just lost it.
Mark Oliver Chatanier.
Let me open it. Let me open the link.
And it can't be that hard.
Marc-Olivier Chatanier.
There we go. I tried my best. I used to be really good at French.
You did not.
I did not try my best. I'm sorry.
You tried your absolute fucking worst.
I am so sorry.
You either have to do the bit and stick with it, as that you can't pronounce French. You can't just give up halfway. You know what? Just because somebody whose first language happens to be French is standing in front of you, you need to be more confident that you can't speak French.
Well, I'm happy to do it with like terrible people in French politics and make like a garbage of their name, but like these people are good people who are out in the streets and
they're good people, but they're just like, but they're the language that their name happens to be in is dumb.
Anyway,
not your fault that it's not spelt the way that it should be.
Anyway, these are two like gumshoe journalists and photographers who were out on there, and they're like responsible for the majority of the footage that came out, or at least that I saw, of like stuff going down the street. We'll probably put the links to all of that in the description, because if you missed it, it is worth looking at, because to understand the actual horror of what was happening there. But yeah, this is kind of an ongoing situation. You mentioned there's a demo this weekend, which will be Saturday just past, and it also has to go through the Senate or something. But what do you think the next couple of weeks or months regarding this even looks like, or what is happening in France?
So basically, what's gonna happen? So you're gonna have the demo. Then people is gonna lay low a little bit because it's Christmas soon, and Christmas is really serious in France. Even
totally no religion.
Yeah,
Catholic is apolitical.
Apolitical Christmas.
Apolitical Christmas.
The apolitical war on Christmas.
Yeah, this is a secular state, and everyone take 2 weeks off for the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
And then I think like things gonna. I think you could like probably safely say that for the 1st of January is going to be probably a riot for sure.
Right.
And then you're going to have like some more demos happening that I don't know why I really sense, because there had been so much suppressed energy, so too much, yeah. So like in January for sure there's going to be a riot.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool.
Cool.
We'll keep a lookout for that.
We legally can't say we support that. We legally can't say it.
Yeah.
But we legally can't say it.
Okay, but before we wrap up, Jean, is there anything you want to promote? I know you've been blogging recently. I know you did a podcast.
Yeah. So
we'll have links in the description. But anything you want to say about that?
Yeah. So I've been writing on this essay about the future of music post-COVID, and like I'm taking on like the context of like what is being an artist in general, and how it links to the dance music industry, and how like we are basically all fucked until there is a revolution, because it's all linked to the material condition. And so I've been writing this, and I've been interviewing like a few thinkers, and like so DeForest Brown Jr., with which I did a podcast as well, and with which I'm doing now a lecture at the university in Toronto, Ryerson University. And Zam Mustafa and Sarah Wild and Rich Jensen from ex-Sub Pop, we call that around Nirvana. Woo-hoo! We now have a company called Resonate, and we do a co-op streaming service. So it's a really interesting piece. It's really long to read, so make sure you have a break in between. But yeah, that's it.
Get a snack and some water, halfway through reading it.
Yeah.
Much like Macron, Jean's thoughts are too complex for most people to understand.
You make sure your blood sugar's up.
Yeah. Hydrate
you also
yourself.
have we had this under like miscellaneous notes, which we don't have time for, but you did write an essay on the cuties controversy and some of that, which for the people who don't know, I mean, we can't get into it now, but for people who don't know, it was made by a French director, and it's kind of and she's from Paris, right? Like a black French director. Yeah. So, for those who don't know, French connections everywhere.
Yeah.
The French connection.
Yeah, the new French connection. Still just as involved with the CIA.
Oh, yes.
Trafficking children now.
Allegedly. Right. And with that, that was your weekly corner, Späti. Thank you, Jean, for coming on again. And make sure to check out his stuff and all the links. And that's it. Ciao.
Ciao.
Peace.
Bye-bye.